Scare. I'm one of your hosts, Danny Royce. I'm joined by my brother. What's good, Pauly?
What's up, everybody?
Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us here, following your scare experts as we dive into all things horror. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again, whether you're on Spotify or YouTube. Shout us out. Let us know where you're listening from. And I'm really excited about this episode today because, it's a movie that we both were looking forward to see when we saw the trailer last episode. And we were like, okay, this is giving a little something. Let's see what it's doing. And we walked into it. It was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes at the time. We said, we got to see this film. Um, and without further ado, let's get into it. That film is Weapons.
So, like Danny just said, a lot of high praise, Rotten Tomatoes, 100%.
Woo!
Everybody was raving about it. So, of course, we went in there like, just ready. Let's see what's up, right?
Ready.
Weapons was released last Friday, August 8th. So, as we kind of talked about on our last episode, a synopsis when all but one child from the same classroom mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time. A community is left questioning what happened, who's behind it, etc. It was written and directed by Zach Kreger, which we also kind of discussed. He's not really big in the horror realm, so we're kind of excited to see what he kind of does with this. The
Hmm.
film starred Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Austin Abrams, and Alden Ehrenreich. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name.
Hmm.
So to start off, I just want to say, before we kind of get into what we thought about the movie in its entirety, standout performances for me, Julia Garner, who played Justine, and Alden,
Oh
who
yeah.
plays Paul. Those two performances for me, just everything about it. I thought they did really well. They were hysterical. There are a lot of funny moments in this movie also.
Oh yeah.
But those are definitely the two standout performances for me. I enjoyed actually watching their interaction. I enjoyed watching their interactions with every other character that they interacted with also. So what about you, Danny?
Okay, nice. Yeah, definitely Julia. Julia was great. And yeah, I can't wait to get into all the funny moments in this film. But yeah, Julia was great. Great performance, very believable, and every scene she just did amazing. You felt bad for her a lot of that at some point, you know what I mean? It's just like everything, all the backlash she was getting on her and stuff. And then also, my boy Josh Brolin with Archer came in and really did a great job with that role. It was a grieving father taken into all types of like directions. He fell into insanity at one point. He was mad at one point. He was terrified. It was really a mix of emotions. I think Josh did a really good job capturing that.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like a lot of the characters in the film did a good job with the whole spectrum of emotion that they went
Yeah.
through throughout the movie. But to kind of familiarize our viewers with the story a little bit before we dive in. So Julia Garner, she plays a third grade school teacher who comes into class one day and notices all of her students in class are gone except for one. This basically prompts a chain of events which result in Julia being told to stay home and not go back to school due to safety issues and concerns. The main focal point of the movie is that one night, actually, I guess you would say early morning, actually at
Yeah.
2:17 a.m.,
Yeah.
the entire class got out of their beds, left their houses, and were not seen from. I think from the timeline, I know they actually went back to school. What was it, 3 months later? I think they reopened the school. I think it was 3 months
Yeah.
later, if I
Hmm.
remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that was the time frame that they were actually gone. So many parents actually watched their children leave and like saw it through like those ring cameras and particular cameras that are on the door. So it was very interesting how they brought that up.
Hmm.
But ultimately, spoiler alert, we found out that it was someone connected to the only child that did not disappear. So we're
Yeah.
going to get into that too. So Danny, there are a lot of themes in this movie. It's like just like oozing with
Yeah,
themes. It's very layered, and I mean, it's not your typical horror movie.
definitely.
If
Yeah.
you want to say, obviously, it's coined as a horror mystery, which I think is appropriate. But at the same time, it's not that traditional horror film. I mean, they do throughout the movie have some like, traditional jump scares, a lot of like edge of your seat type scenes. Um, but I mean, getting into the themes of the movie, I mean, we have, the missing children theme, which is,
Yeah.
huge. The weaponization of children, the communal trauma experienced by, this particular incident, um, the nature and consequences of violence, drug use as a coping mechanism, and,
Mm-hmm.
also, which was not dove into too much, but it was definitely there, witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So let's kind of dive in these real quick. And as we're doing it, we can kind of talk about what stood out in the movie and what we saw about everything. So, what do you want to pinpoint first out of those themes?
I mean, there's a lot of themes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of themes. And first going into it, obviously knowing Zach Kreger a little bit about his work, watching Barbarian, which also did very well. Um, he has a lot of themes in that film as well. So I was like, okay, he's going to be exploring a lot of stuff here. I think the biggest one, obviously, was the children missing. I mean, that's obviously one of the biggest things that went throughout the entire film. Um, and just also grieving. Grieving was a big one. And not just grieving uh, with the kids being missing, but also with Julia, her job, that was her way of kind of like, or Justine, who was saying her character name, was the way, that was her way of like coping and staying off of being, you know, alcohol, or just staying away from that and like something. And we saw that that's something that her and Paul shared and too, so she was grieving from the loss of her job too, like, and that was her connection with those kids. I think that one. And then, like you said, it wasn't touched deep, but witchcraft was a big thing here, which they showed later on in the film more so. But that was pretty much the strings um behind the show, pulling those strings. So I think for me, like those three were pretty big.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I feel like the missing children, obviously, that drove a lot of that was the driving force behind the movie and everything. But I feel like it almost kind of took a back seat once you kind of, you know, got deeper into the story because
mhm,
like we were saying, there's so many layers. So, it's like you're kind of like peeling back, the onion and everything and
mhm,
stuff to see what is eventually at the core of everything. So yeah, like that whole the grief, the communal trauma, why, there always needs to be some scapegoat, right? There always has
right,
to be someone responsible, someone to blame for what's going on. And we saw that Justine pretty much took the brunt of that at first, at least.
yeah,
Um, and the whole like, I thought the drug use as a coping mechanism was huge in this movie.
yeah,
Also, as we can see, the alcohol that was introduced with Justine and Paul, and then James also.
yeah,
Um, you know, experiencing what he was going through. And one thing I do, one thing I really enjoyed about this movie, and I like movies that do this, um, are kind of like the interconnected chapters,
yeah, oh
with
yeah,
like the nonlinear narratives, kind of like a
hmm,
Tarantino movie or like what's that movie? Crash. You remember
yeah,
that
Crash,
movie?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I like movies like that where you see everybody, each person different
your
perspective.
perspective.
Yeah, and then how
Hmm.
it kind of like intermingles. Um, so I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that was good. But, like once I start, because I mean the first one was I believe Archer, and then once I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. We got different chapters that we're gonna do. Okay,
Yeah, so
um,
the first one was Justine, then second one was Archer.
well, Justine, yeah, and then
Yeah,
it was Archer.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I feel like yeah, Justine was like her perspective was like throughout the entire film.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously, the main perspective. But I want to jump real quick back to like the grieving part because even it tied even with Gladys, and we'll discuss more about her. But like she was grieving because a part of her was dying. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like she was losing. So I think everyone was losing something,
Hmm.
and it's just how they reacted to their loss was what made this film very impactful in different places. I think each character was losing something,
Yeah, I mean,
whether it was
I
James with the
agree.
drugs or Paul with the what, it was just
Yeah,
all it was something.
I agree. I mean, ultimately, I feel like it's just it's a movie about loss. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, obviously at the core, the missing children and everything. But then, like you were saying, each individual is going through something. And I think it's it's kind of was something I noticed that because I was very confused at first and I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. So you had those horrifying images of Gladys,
Yeah.
um, who for our viewers is ultimately behind all this, which we'll get into further. But so the horrifying images, I think Justine saw her first, and then Archer saw
Yeah.
her in like their
Hmm.
nightmares or something. But then she came to, but then she showed up to James.
James,
So
yeah.
that was very interesting to
Mhm.
me because at first I was like, okay, I completely understand why Justine and Archer saw her because they're at the forefront of what's going on with this, I guess you would say, spell and the kids and everything. But why is James seeing her? But then it kind of I thought about, okay, it's the overarching kind of like lost thing, and James is completely lost.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the most lost people in the film. He's lost himself to
Hmm.
drugs. You saw trying to get a job, he can't even get close to a job and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was very telling, and I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Whether or not, like I said, Prager meant to like do all this stuff we're going to talk about too, but just thinking about it, it's something to think about.
James didn't even care about he didn't even care about the kids really. He was like, that 50 grand, I can use that to get higher with. Okay. Give me that 50 grand. He
I think he
didn't
was
care.
wondering if Paul was going to take the money.
All right. It's like, are you gonna take the money, sir? Yeah, that was crazy.
So overall, like, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good. Honestly, I
Mhm.
didn't think it was that scary. Um,
No,
like
not
a
at
lot
all.
of the intended jump scares didn't like do it for me. Um, and the ending I thought was very flat, like extremely fat, and I was kind of disappointed because not only did it end so abruptly, but it was just I don't know, it didn't do much for me. Um, but I felt it was good, and I enjoyed with it what Craig was trying to do on like a broader level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. It didn't turn out to be what I thought it was gonna be as far as like, and it was predictable too, which I think I
Mm-hmm.
talked to you about too. It was parts of it was definitely predictable. I don't think it took away from its being the part of it actually being entertaining, but um, there were some disturbing parts, I would say, you know, when stabbing themselves with the fork, things that she could make them do was
Mm-hmm.
pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
And it was just like yeah, it was crazy some of the scenes. I feel like the ending for me, I was I was in that room, I was in that theater just cutting up. Like this part was
Who are you
hilarious.
telling?
And she just like, like it was, she was like, oh no. And she just booked it.
Well, okay, so
And to everyone's home. Okay, let's talk about what happened at the end and we
yeah.
can, come in. But let's just talk about that because that, and I think you're right because it did end abruptly. I understood why it did. I understood it. But at the same time, I was like, um, it really wasn't a great, I don't know, payoff, but I think he was going for more of the shock factor. Because like they're really tearing this woman up like this. Like it was more like, oh my God, this is happening. So right, we'll talk about Alex, you know, Gladys goes out and Alex is getting the he goes past the saw, he goes into the room, in her room. She's not there. She's actually downstairs trying to handle Justine and Archer. And Alex saw her so many times doing this curse method, right? So he's like, you know what? It's gotta work. So let's try. He grabs some of Gladys's hair from her wig, which she does that to all her victims, and wraps it around and snaps it, right? And which turns all these kids who seem to be, who are missing, but literally downstairs, and we'll discuss that part on her. And then she just books it because she knows exactly like what they're gonna do, right? Which my thing is like, okay, do you th that was another thing with the magic. Like as you're doing this, do you just think of what you want them to do? You know what I mean? Because the hair is one part, but like, how are you telling them what you want them to do? Is it a thought? Is it, telekinetic? Like, what is it? So, that part when they all ran to her through all these homes and stuff, I know you were dying too.
I was,
What was your initial thoughts
oh my God.
when you first saw this cloak?
So first of all, I think maybe, I don't know what it is. It's like maybe some type of like tree or something, but like I feel like it only serves one purpose because once she has that personal item on it and then she kind of breaks it, I guess that represents destroying the object that it holds on to. Because I mean, I don't see what other purpose it could serve. Um, so by doing that, I guess because it had what was the guy's name, Marcus. When she did that to him, he went after Justine to try to
Yeah.
destroy her and everything. So I'm thinking just like that's the way the curse is or something. By destroying the object, you're trying to destroy that person. Um, but
Yeah, and I think that one second on that too, because like we had Andrew's uh I don't know, partner, and she took a piece of his hair and he did go after him and he killed him, right?
right,
But then she had a possession of all the kids
mhm.
and they didn't kill anyone, they just came there. And we'll talk more about like her dying situation and stuff like that, which I was getting a little like Hansel and Gretel type feeling type vibes of like, okay, is she sucking the life out of these kids pretty
Yeah,
much? Um, but like I think because they didn't go after anybody, and then the parents also didn't go after anybody until he crossed that salt. So I was
mhm.
like, it was a part of whatever she was doing because she said I can make them eat each other. I can make them like so. It's like I don't know. I feel like it was like a part of was also of her thinking or like somehow putting what she wants them to do specifically in there. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah,
some people had different reactions to it,
yeah.
which was
I
interesting.
feel like that's something that wasn't addressed, and there's a lot of things in here that actually need to be addressed better. Because yeah, like you said, the I think he was a principal. The principal, I think his name was Marcus, and his partner. When she snapped his object, he just
Yeah.
basically headbutted him to death, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
but then when she did with Justine, he tried to basically eat Justine. And obviously, when Alex did it, the kids just basically ripped her apart, and like I think they're
Right.
eating her too. So I don't. I think that needs to be explained more because it might have been something. Whatever your will happen. Whatever you
Right.
will it to be, it will happen. But at the same time, I feel like it's not addressed, and that's something that was kind of because at the same time, it's not addressed whether or not Gladys is a witch. You don't know if she's a witch or
Right.
not. It's implied,
Yeah.
but you don't know if she's a witch. That the power could solely lie in that totem or tree or whatever it
And
is,
that stick or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, or whatever that can hold the power. Um, but yeah, so let's get back to the kids. So who finds the kids?
Cool.
So
What
who
is that?
finds the kids?
Oh yeah, James finds the kids at first,
Yep,
and it's crazy how it happened.
yep,
Trying to just, but trying to just be a burglar, trying to get a rich buck or a quick buck so he can he can get his fix, and he stumbles in the house. He first finds the parents sitting there dazed, in their trance, which, originally, I believe Gladys was eating their life first, and it
Mhm.
wasn't sustainable,
Yep.
which they didn't go into that either, of how she was draining this life. We can only suspect, conclude that she's draining the life out of these people to stay alive, right?
Mhm.
So, once they weren't enough, she got the kids, and they're in the basement. So he's going downstairs trying to take stuff around, blah blah blah. He sees the kids. I thought that was pretty creepy the way they all like turned
Yeah,
and
they
looked
all
at him.
turn their head.
And he got out of there. Um, and then like the parents stepped out of their trance for a second, and, like, not chased him out, but kind of like walked towards him. You didn't
Yeah,
know
to
what they were
scare
gonna
them out.
do.
Yep.
Yeah, to scare him out and stuff. Um, and then, you know, he meets Paul again.
Mhm.
So
Right.
that was wild.
Yeah, their dynamic was hilarious. Yeah,
Aerodynamic was crazy.
it was pretty
Um,
insane.
yeah, James was it was a good James was a good character though.
He was again, he was, not in it long, but it was definitely
Right,
impactful,
right,
Yeah.
right. And so Paul didn't believe him at first. He went in, and then, once she got Paul, she went and got, used Paul to get James. So, like, um yeah, it was just an interesting thing how she would use just everyone to pretty much get what she wanted.
Right.
I'm like, what aunt is this? Like, where the hell did she come from?
Right.
Like,
It's like
you said it's your mom's sister. It's your mom's sister. Like, what
well,
the
it's
hell?
weird because if you remember at the beginning, she was like, she said, my aunt. And then
Yeah,
when he was about to go upstairs, she told him to clean the room. She said, your aunt. So I'm like, whose aunt is it? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Is it her aunt, his aunt, or maybe a great aunt? So it's both their aunts. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
when she was in the principal's office, she said that Alex's father couldn't come in because he was suffering from consumption. So
right.
that obviously illustrates that she's been around for a while because consumption is what 1800s. So
Mhm.
he didn't even know what it was. He was like, what's consumption? She was like, she was like, I'm caught up.
Yeah,
So that was
yeah,
funny too.
yeah. It's just like we can only assume she was a witch from everything she was doing, and like when she first came, ooh, she looked rough.
She
She
did.
looks,
When
she
Alex
looked,
looked at her in the room, yeah.
yeah, she was dying, and it was almost to a point where I was like, okay, why would you? I get it, but it's like, okay, let's find another place. I was with the husband on this one. He was like, "This ain't no hospice. Like, we
Mhm.
don't have." We. I was like,
Right.
"Yeah, I don't know. She just seems scary."
And then not only that, but she said they hadn't seen her in 15 years. So I'm like,
Right.
if you ain't talked to her or seen her in 15 years, like you're just gonna invite her straight in the house. Like, it's just
Exactly.
weird, right?
Now, my mother would do this for her, so I'm gonna do this, and I need you to stand with me. I was like, no, I don't need to, not really. And I'm just like, what was your relationship like? What was your mom's relationship with her sister? Like that's that aunt was just from hell, and it was crazy. Even like she ran around looking like Ronald McDonald. Like I just was like, what the hell is going on? It's
I know
creepy.
she
It's
was just
creepy.
looking crazy, and I'm just like, why?
It's
Why?
creepy.
I was like, why is this here? Why is this happening?
Right.
Uh, okay. Yeah, so let's talk about these really quickly. Most of the kids, 17 of them got up at 2:17 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was 17, 17 kid.
Yep, 17 kids. So what do you think was the importance of that?
Um, I don't know. Like honestly, I was looking for it. I was like, and I didn't do like any online, digging and stuff like that. I'm sure there's Easter egg hunts and stuff, but I was like, 217 is I feel like because remember it showed that Alex got up at like 2:14 and then he went downstairs 3 minutes later is when I just feel like it's just when she finished the potion. Like like she was moving a little slow that day and she just finished the potion at 2:17. I don't think it really was um a big thing behind it, and it just
Yeah,
had so happened to be maybe Kreger like wrote it like that, but and it was like just happened to be 17 kids. There's 18 kids in the class, 17 of them, Alex, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it to you because you're and which
yeah,
was horrible. I felt that's the character I felt the worst for was Alex
yeah.
because it's like you're literally a prisoner and you're
Right.
just being
He's
made to do
he's
this.
feeding them to keep them alive
Feeding
and stuff
them,
like that.
which I know you thought it too. I was like, are they like shitting on themselves? Like what like who's I was like,
Right? That's
who's
exactly
changing?
what I thought
I was
with the
like, what's
parents.
going on?
I was like, are they wearing Depends or something? Like, what's
Right.
going
That's
on?
what I'm like. 3 months. I'm like, the kids were down there for like a little over 3 months,
And
and
the
they were
parents
eating soup.
longer. The parents are sitting
Yeah,
there
the parents
longer.
are longer, and
So
they're
I don't
eating
know if
soup
she
every day.
maybe she snapped them out of it to go to the bathroom every once in a while.
Right. I'm just like, what? Because like, remember he was like, the CPS and the cops were coming,
Yeah,
and she was like, we got to be ready for them. So
right.
he like literally moved company all like outside in the back, cleaned up. It was crazy. Parts of it had me just
It was,
going.
yeah, it was very disturbing. And it sucks because, like, like you said, Alex was a prisoner and he had to kind of decide between, his classmates or his parents, right? Because
Right.
he was like, if I do this for you, will you leave? And she was like, yeah, I'll leave. So obviously
Mm.
he thought she would leave if he got the kids. So he did it. So, I mean, I understand why he did it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh
But
yeah,
it's,
definitely. It just was so bad. It was like, oh my God,
yeah,
you gotta feed them, you gotta do
yeah.
this and that.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it was wild.
So the only thing I thought about was obviously, like you said, the 17 kids, but then the two, I was just like, it had to be Alex and then Justine. So I was like, maybe that's the two survivors. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Especially if you look at from a grand scheme of like uh, school shootings and stuff like that,
yeah.
which I think was a huge theme of this movie too. You know what I mean? Obviously, it was done in a different way, in a more creative, more
Hmm.
scary way, but I think that's what it was. But I did look into it and I saw what Kreger actually said about it.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny because throughout his interview, when he's being asked these questions, he's like, "Oh, maybe that's how I wasn't really thinking about it." He's very like nonchalant about it, like and
Yeah.
stuff, which is kind of funny because if you see any of his like live interviews, that's kind of how he is as a person. He's just like, you know. So it's kind of funny in his answers. But basically, he said he thinks that was his own subconscious reference to Room 217 in Stephen King's novel The Shining. So he
Okay.
thinks because he's a huge Shining fan that
Yeah.
that's what he was doing with that. But and then he was like, maybe that's what I was doing. So it's like he's writing this stuff and then he's just like adding in something. He's like, oh, maybe that's where it came from, but I don't remember exactly. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, and that happens too, it's
Mhm.
writing and stuff, especially writing screenplays. Like, there's stuff that I wrote that I didn't realize. I was like, oh, that was and kind of inspired from Charm, but like in a different way. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, why that? And it's so I can totally get that.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of like, did I get that from that point? Yeah. But yeah, that's good. That's good. Stephen King, The Shining.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah. And I mean,
I want to talk.
a huge one
Go ahead.
though, going on the same thing was the assault rifle. So I do want to touch on that too. The assault rifle
Hmm.
that had the 217.
That's what I had in my notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, we kind of addressed it a little bit, the school shootings and everything. That's what I took from it exactly. Then kind of the 217 that we already talked about. But what did you
Yeah.
take from it?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I was like, is that an AK-47? I'm like, what?
Mhm.
And it's just hovering over, that house. So I was like, okay. And then I was thinking about, the school shootings and stuff like that, and I was like, interesting. This kind of correlates because the whole thing with loss, right?
Yep.
These kids are they're a lot of them like are presumed dead, at this point, but like because there's no type of evidence out there, so that's what I took it as too. But I was like, wasn't sure. I'm like, is there something that's gonna come later that's gonna explain it a little bit more? Because yeah, it was just hovering, and you didn't know what the heck it was at first
Mhm.
until it just got it, and then the 217 came. But yeah, I was along those same lines.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I gotta address this. So, so when Justine followed Alex home and fell asleep outside, I mean, do you just leave your doors open
I
like
don't
that,
understand that.
and then you don't feel nobody clipping your hair? Like I just like, come on now.
Like,
Like it just
how deep of a sleep do these people go into?
how deep of a sleep did these people go in? And let's just for the viewers and stuff, because we love to laugh. Let's talk about our favorite our favorite funny moments in this film. I'm
There,
sorry.
there's a couple.
That was one of them when she was coming out, glass was coming out, and she was about to cut Justine's hair. How was she walking? She was like this.
That was the mom though. She was walking
Oh,
like
the
this.
mom, yeah, the
Yeah.
mom. The mom
I was
was
like, why is
walking
she
out like
walking like
that.
that?
Why were you walking like that?
Oh my God. That was funny.
I was dying. Donna in the store.
You
I don't know, it was
told
just
you.
something about them tracing Justine and then just seeing Donna's in the background following her and then just knocking. Oh my
That
gosh.
was funny too. And
Yo.
I was I was dying on the part where is, obviously under the control of Gladys, and he was chasing after Justine in the store. And then Archer like kind of tackled him so she could get away. And then the storekeeper's like, get out of my store. She was just like, help me.
She's like, why don't you help
Yeah, she was
me?
like, why don't you help me?
That was hilarious. That was the prime example of I'm gonna mind my business.
Right. I
Like,
was dying. Like I was probably the only one in theater just like cracking up. Like,
yeah,
oh my,
that part was
it's
hilarious.
just like her facial expressions and how she screamed it. She's like, why don't you help me?
Right. She was like, you want me to get the hell out? Why don't you actually help? That was insane. That
Uh,
that one was hilarious.
yeah.
The it was just so many funny moments. I think obviously the end
The, yeah.
was the funniest.
The
Like
kids chasing Gladys throughout
I
the house.
lost it. I lost it throughout everyone's home. Like she went to at least three people's houses,
It was at
which
least
their doors were just wide open.
wide open. And then the ones, I mean, the kids didn't care. They smashed it. They ran through the
They ran
windows,
through
through the doors.
everything.
They was just, and then the people in the houses, they were just looking like, what's going on? Like,
They
what do
were
you
like, "Oh
do?
my
You know what I mean? Like,
God."
what do you do at that point? You're just like, you gotta, like, what?
It was it was so many funny moments, y'all. Like it was a comedy at a lot of points in the film.
Yeah, it really was.
Um, what did you feel about the entire, because I know we're gonna wrap up this movie soon. What did you feel about the entire message of the weapons? Them and being a weapon, using people as a weapon.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, that's a common theme, like, in the world in general, people use people as weapons all the time. It's just,
Mhm.
and it's something to say that, when children are being used as weapons, whether whatever type of situation it may be in, I think that's, you know, even more troubling, I guess you would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did so. The one part of the interview that I want to address really quickly with Traeger was the whole
Mhm.
like the kids and why they were running in that manner. The whole like
Yes.
straight armed and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um, so again, he says he doesn't exactly remember where he got it from, but he says if he had to say something he thinks it was from the Napalm Girl in the photo from the Vietnam War. Um,
Hmm.
and I actually recall that photo is actually very, very troubling. So
Yeah.
he indicated that he believes that the unsettling running style that originated from the Napalm Girl photo drove his vision and how these children would be basically running because um, it's basically uncontrolled. They're
Yeah.
basically, they have no control over themselves. They're being
Nope.
pulled by their head and their mind and their
Yeah.
body. So all their limbs are pretty much just like, you know.
Right.
So I was like, that's crazy. It's insane.
Like Archie was saying, like they are literally just focused and so dead caught on like what they need to do.
Mm,
And that they just go. And it's just like that again, that shock factor that Kreger goes for it. Even in Barbarian, it was just like kind of he goes for like these moments that make you think, but make you go, oh, that like you have that type of
yeah,
emotion to it.
right. Yeah. What about you though?
I have to echo that. Exactly what you said. It's 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 disgusting, but it's like it's so realistic. Having just using people as weapons. And just Gladys's, you know. her stance on not caring about anything, but just trying to stay alive. Like she used and did whatever she needed to do and used whoever she needed to use. Like it was just like crazy. Like there was no remorse. There was no type of feeling of anything.
Yeah.
So she had her own like dead focus, pool that she had her own thing. So yeah, it was
Which
crazy.
which is sadly indicative of, a lot of people in
Hmm.
society.
Oh yeah.
So I
Oh
think,
yeah.
there were definitely some like real life themes that Kreger touched on here and everything. Um, the last thing I want to talk about is the freaking bell. That bell, as we know, as soon as she is the bell, that's when basically it basically activates the person under her control. So it had the triangle and then the six. Obviously, we can kind of assume like the six, the whole like evil 666 thing. That's what I'm
Yeah.
assuming. But the triangle, I was a little confused about. Um, but that was used in the weapons too. So maybe it's for something like involving witchcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was a little confused about that too. I mean, obviously 666 is, Antichrist, stuff like that. And I get that. But Triangle was a little thrown off. I kept thinking of Squid Games. Uh but and it was even in the credits, it was a big old triangle.
yeah,
All I could think of is like, Illuminati type stuff, like that's all I could really think of. It just had to deal with the witchcraft
yeah. That's what I'm. Yeah,
that she was dealing with. But yeah, the bell, when she snapped, that's when they went for it. But then when she put it in the water, that's when they stopped.
yeah. Because that's
And
when
then the
it's
bell
kind of.
activated something else in
Yeah.
them.
I'm
She had a
assuming
lot going
like
on.
that's when like the water. I mean, because she obviously pricks her finger first, and the blood
Yeah,
is what activates the spell. So maybe the
right.
water kind of cleanses it and ends the
Yeah,
spell.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lot of things that could have been addressed a little bit more. Not
Hmm.
a great deal because I think you can pretty much presume or draw your own conclusions or interpret how you want, and I think that was Kreger's goal in a lot of this
Oh yeah.
movie
Oh
to
yeah.
interpret all these things the way you want to interpret it. Obviously,
Right.
he directed it a little bit towards where you should think.
Uh-huh.
But in regards to like Gladys, I also read, which is I wish he did this in his earlier script he had a chapter for Gladys. So I kind of wish he
Yeah,
did that. He said he
that's
kind of
good.
nixed it because he said he rather have he rather have like I guess you would say abruptness than clarity. So
Yeah.
he didn't want
Yeah.
it to be
No,
so clear. You know what I
that's
mean?
definitely his. Yeah, that's
But
definitely his
I
MO.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like even if Gladys had a chapter, he could have did it in a way where, we still all the questions aren't answered. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even
he
with
could have. Yeah, he could have. Depending on where he started and stuff,
yeah,
the chapter. Yeah, that would have been kind of cool actually.
yeah.
But
I mean,
I get, I understand from a storyteller point of view, having that unclarity is like it keeps people talking about it, keeps people
right.
wondering, it keeps
Hmm.
people wondering and really like, what the hell,
Right.
and honestly, like you could have a sequel with this. It could be a prequel, you could
Yeah,
do
it should
something.
could be a prequel.
Yeah, you could
Hmm.
do something with, to this story. So yeah, I get where it's coming from, but yeah, but also that would have been dope to have
That
like
would have been a really bit
a
dope.
Gladys,
Because I
a
feel like
Gladys chapter.
James his chapter was probably the shortest,
Yeah,
his or Paul's, but I think James was the shortest. And I mean, we didn't learn a lot from him.
no,
So I feel like it could have been done in a good a way where, still had us asking like, wait, what about this? What about this? Or,
yeah,
kind of like interpreting in a way. But anyway, overall, I gave the movie a B.
yeah,
I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, not traditional horror movie for me. There was the like eerie elements, like the door opening and you kind of waiting to see what's going to come out the door and
yeah.
everything of the
Some
house.
of the,
Yeah, but like
some of the nightmares.
the jump scares for me weren't there. But overall, like in the broader scheme of things and like what Craig was trying to do, I really enjoyed it. It's a different kind of horror movie. So, but I enjoyed it. So I gave it a B.
Yeah, that's yeah. I gave it a B plus. I
Nice.
enjoyed it too. I thought it was funny. A lot of parts was hilarious. Even like subtle looks was hilarious. Subtle movements. Um, and yeah, I see where Kirker was going with it. There were some things, like you said, it wasn't traditional horror film. Even a lot of the nightmares and stuff, and the faces and the dead pans and all that, it just wasn't scary for me, but it
Right.
was it was entertaining.
It was.
It just
It was
wasn't
entertaining
scary.
for
Like
sure.
it was nothing terrifying about this. It was more a lot of disturbing parts,
Mhm.
more so
Yeah.
than terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I,
B plus.
I agree.
That was such a great. So you guys go check Weapons out for sure. Obviously it's getting a lot of press, it's getting a lot of love, which it should. What I did respect about this and love about this, it was original story. It was fresh and new. Yeah, you could, it made you think of some other films and stuff that kind of like, oh, but it was fresh. It wasn't a remake, it wasn't a reboot. And nowadays, I respect that because we get a lot of stuff that are rebooting, a lot of stuff
Recycled
that's
and yeah.
recycled, a lot of, so I take my hat off for Krager for that. So go check out Weapons out in theaters now. And yeah, you got our rating on it, you got our feedback on it. So um so let's transition over to because we like to talk about some classics and we like to keep the classics around the same realm theme of our film, new release film, right? So
Yes,
let's
sir.
get into our classics. So I'm gonna start off with mine. The classic that I wanted to bring up for this film, it got me thinking about this film. It came out about 13 years ago. And it just really, it's one of those films that was really disturbing. And it had to deal with kids, and being under control of a certain paranormal element, entity, right? So kind of along the lines, done totally different though, was Sinister. And for those of you who have not seen Sinister, man, it is crazy. Parts are hard to watch. But it's about true crime writer Ellison Oswald, played by Ethan Hawke. He's in a slump. He's got writer's block, right? He hasn't had a bestseller in more than 10 years, and he becomes increasingly desperate for a hit. So when he discovers that the existence of a snuff film showing the deaths of families passed around, right? He vows to solve this mystery. He moves his own family to the victim's home, one of the victim's homes, and gets to work. He feels like it's going to inspire him to write. He didn't tell his family this, however. When the old film footage of other clues hint at a presence of supernatural force, Ellison learns that living in the house may be fatal, which turns out to be. So it came out October 12th, 2012. Wait, did I say 2012? 2012, October 12th, 2012, directed by Scott Derrickson. So I just want to talk about how this film, Weapons, when I first saw the trailer, I think I told you when we saw the trailer last episode, I was like, oh, it's giving me Sinister vibes
Mm.
because it's literally like, you know, um, the same kind of like aspect with the kids, done totally different, obviously. But you have this entity, this evil entity, and I forget his name. Um, he's was terrifying to me. Like just his whole demeanor, the way he looked was scared, was creepy as hell. You have these snuff films, right, that the kids film themselves killing their families. And the way they would kill their families is just horrifying, right? Some of these films were like just insane to watch. Some and then like it's one of those films that really resonated with me because like I never forget some of these, this film. It's really terrifying to watch, disturbing. And then he would take the child once he made the child do what he bidded them to do, which was kill their family, right? And then he would take them, which their soul was pretty much his at that point. Um, so yeah, I had to. They call him Mr. Boogie, but he had like a demonic name, and it was just crazy. It was crazy. It was a lot of things, that throughout the film. The acting was great. Like I said, Ethan Hawke was in it. There was what is his name? James Ransone, yeah. And Claire Foley, Julia Rylance, Victoria Leigh, which was in Supernatural. So it just had like some a really good cast, good acting, and very scary moments. Was it the most terrifying? No, but it was memorable. And then they went on to make a Sinister 2, which came out 3 years later, which dealt with the same kind of vibe, but on a whole different scale. I just thought it was a really good movie. And once you see him, nothing can save you. What did you think about Sinister?
Yeah, Sinister was creepy as hell. Um, I remember when I first saw it, yeah, it was just like, dang, you know what I mean? It's just like one of those movies that like you're just like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I saw, yeah, that and Insidious. I was just like, those movies, those types of movies, it's just like, you know what I mean? Something
Hmm.
different about them.
It's hard. Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that. That's a good pick.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And definitely go check out Insidious, y'all. You can watch it now on Plex. And it's on Prime and also Hulu. So if you have not seen Sinister, just make sure, if this realm is like a little iffy for you, don't be alone when you watch this.
Right.
um, and just be prepared. It's also a horror mystery like Weapons. So just be prepared to be disturbed in some instances. And maybe a little pissed off at these kids, but it's the demon behind them.
Right.
So what was your classic?
So again, we're going along the same theme as our movie Weapons. So my classic for today's scare episode is Children of the Corn,
Yes,
1984.
very much a classic.
Yes. So so the film is set in the fictional town of Gatlin, Nebraska. It's um, basically a community surrounded by huge cornfields. Um, so when the corn crop fails one year, the townsfolk turn to prayer to ensure a successful harvest. However, 9-year-old Isaac, who is creepy beyond belief, um, takes all the Gatlin children into the cornfields and indoctrinates them into this religious cult based around a bloodthirsty deity called He Who Walks Behind the Rows.
Yeah.
Isaac and his subordinate Malachi lead the children in a revolution, murdering all the adults in the town as human sacrifices to he who walks around the roads. Basically, there's only two kids who aren't involved in the sacrifices because they didn't attend the meetings. So basically, 3 years later after that, basically only kids are living in this town. And Vicky and her husband, who is played by Linda Hamilton,
Mhm.
they travel through rural Nebraska, and then basically they end up hitting one of the kids that ran out trying to escape the other kids who are, I mean, at this point, essentially possessed by
Right.
he who walks behind the rose. Um, and they basically, what ensues after that is just basically them going to the town, trying to stay alive, ultimately almost getting sacrificed themselves. But yeah, so this movie, in the same vein of weapons, because obviously you have these kids that are basically being controlled by this evil entity, and one of the kids who basically serves as the person, doing it and everything, is making sure everything goes according to this particular deity's plan. So definitely a classic. I like the movie. It's fun. It's creepy beyond belief.
Huh.
Um, Definitely a good horror movie. It spawned 9 other entries. Um,
Yeah.
and I've honestly only seen the first 6. I haven't seen anything after that. Danny may know this, but my favorite is the third one.
Yeah. Mine
I think
too.
it's called Urban Harvest, Special Harvest with Eli.
Yeah.
So that's
Good old
that
Eli.
yeah, that's my favorite one. But the first one, this one I'm talking about here, is a classic. It basically obviously introduces you into the franchise, and it takes like this whole like demonic child like idea to like a whole new level. Very disturbing at times, very gory, but it's I think it definitely deserved a mention in the classics for sure. You can catch it right now on free Tubi and Plex. Danny, what did you think of Children of the Corn?
Yeah, Children of the Corn is a great classic. Yeah, again, my favorite one is also the third one.
Mm,
I think that was one of the ones like we kind of grew up like
yeah,
just watching, and
yeah. I think it came out in '95. I want to say.
yeah, it was just one of the ones that really just stuck, and it was a little more urban. So, and Eli was uh he was one of my favorite antagonists.
Yeah,
He
dude,
was just great.
he had that look, like that creepy evil look, like when he looked at you, you
Right.
was like,
Like just creepy, and great. Obviously when the story done by Stephen King is always lit.
yeah.
So um just the sick, twisted mind of Stephen King. I love it. Yeah, it's great. That was a great pick. I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed I think I've seen the first 5. I'm not sure if I've seen the sixth one. I gotta remember. Um Yeah, I remember they did a reboot of that, and I watched most of it, but it just didn't hit the same way, in my opinion.
I know
Uh,
the latest one was in 2020.
yeah,
And I
that
think
was
that's
the
the reboot one you're talking about. Yeah.
reboot. Yeah, the one that just came out. So it was
Yep.
like, yeah, 2020. Um, but yeah, no, I really like Children of Corn, and again, one of those films that make you want to hate kids, but but it's the evil entity behind them.
Yes.
The year is still going, and we got some great stuff ahead this year. Some great movies, and horror films that came out. One of those was Strange Harvest. That I just want to shout out because I love my independent filmmakers. When you're able to, find funding, which is extremely hard, put together a cast, put together all this stuff, not having a backing of a huge production company behind you or network, it's hard. So I just want to shout out, Strange Harvest, and talk about that just one second. It just came out on August 8th, and a are thrust into a chilling hunt for Mr. Shiny, a sadistic serial killer from the past whose return marks the beginning of a new wave of grotesque, otherworldly crimes tied to a dark cosmic force. It is directed by Stuart Ortiz, and he's one of the writers and producers on it. So definitely want to shout out to him. Uh, great work. I have not seen the film yet. I'm definitely going to check it out and support my indie film makers.
Mhm.
92% on Rotten Tomatoes. It just came out, like I said again, it is in theaters, but you can also check it streaming on Amazon Prime. It's also a mockumentary, so it's done in a documentary style, same as like Blair Witch, it's things like that, found footage type stuff. So definitely just want to shout it out. Good job, Or Stewart.
There you go. Yeah, I like
Check it
movies. I
out.
like mockumentary movies like that.
Yeah,
It keeps me like more involved, I guess.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So definitely gonna go check that out. Please go support them. Show them some love. But our upcoming film that we're gonna discuss, I'm a little worried about this one. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm a little scared.
So,
A little scared. But hey, let's get into it. What's our upcoming film?
all right. As as you can tell by my face, I am equally concerned about this. But our upcoming film is Witchboard. All
Nah.
right. So this particular Witchboard film that will be released on Friday, August 15th, is a re-imaging of the 1986 movie of the same name, which is a classic.
Yes. Yes.
Capital classic.
Love it. Such a
So
great film.
I know, I mean, me and Danny both. We hope they do well with this one. So basically, in present day New Orleans, a cursed artifact unleashes a vengeful witch, drawing a young couple into a deadly spiral of possession, temptation, and occult terror. So similar storyline of the original 1986 version, but it does seem to be a little bit more intense. And
Yeah.
Danny, another 100% Rotten Tomatoes.
I know. I'm like Rotten Tomatoes is handing these out lately. You get 100. You get
You
100.
go,
You
man.
get
You
like,
go.
like what?
But IMDb did give it a 5.7 out of 10. So
Okay.
we'll see. So what does excite me about this, Danny, is the director is Chuck Russell. We were just talking about Chuck Russell last
Yeah.
week when we were discussing one of our favorite slashers, Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors,
Yeah.
who also directed that. So this is basically his first film, reintroducing himself into the world of horror. So I mean, hopefully it's a good, it's a splash, and he does well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Chuck Russell's, amazing. The Blob, The
Yep.
Mask. He's done great work. So I'm excited to see it, but like I said, I'm just a little scared because once you touch classics like that, it's like
Yes.
you have to deliver.
Yes.
If you don't
Yeah.
deliver, it's annoying.
Yeah. Not only annoying, but it's terrible for him because he's
It's
already like so good. You know what I mean? He's already
exactly.
produced so. But yeah, let's check out the trailer real quick.
Yeah.
We must journey back. Back to she who carved this board. Who spilled blood to stir its dark magic.
It's a pendulum board. They were used to contact spirits.
You think it's worth anything? Show me what you got.
It's that board. Just feels like bad juju.
Why is there blood on your hand?
Just go inside.
You have to trust me.
There is such a thing as destiny, Christian. And hers is not with you.
Christian?
when those hands
Yeah,
grabbed her, I was like, that looks kind of creepy. So I think it's gonna be
yeah. That looks creepy.
yeah,
The shower part, the
yeah,
shower scene. Yeah, it looks like it's got some good moments.
yeah. Potential. It has potential for sure.
Potential. It does have potential. We have a different type of board.
Yeah,
It's not the Ouija board.
yeah.
So
It's
it's
like,
okay.
yeah, I mean, the original just had like the the cast, like the acting was so good too, and
Right.
just like it was so creepy and like, you know,
Mouth
Tawny,
Vader.
Tawny, she just delivered, when she,
Oh yeah,
you
Tommy was
know,
great.
her
And yeah,
possession and everything, and the only
Mouth
person,
Vader
yeah,
is one
mouth,
of
oh,
those.
that creepy. Oh,
He's creepy.
now you talk about one person that literally scared the living crap out of me. And
Right.
that was his face. For those of you that have not seen the original Witchboard, check it out.
Yes.
Um, Definitely a good movie. It's creepy.
Yeah, definitely check that out. And still to this day, I still say, TTFN. Like it's
Me
just like
too.
it's just one of those classics. It's like it just has so many memorable quotes too. Um, but yeah, Madison Iseman is leading the cast. We know her from I Know What You Did Last Summer, the
The
series, and
series, yeah.
Annabelle, Goosebumps, so she's got some horror under her belt.
Yeah.
I didn't really recognize anyone else.
Me either. I was just gonna say that.
I know Jamie Campbell, the guy, the British guy. He was in some stuff.
He was
I know,
he was
Sweeney
Stranger
Todd.
Things. I know
Yeah,
that.
Stranger Things. That's what it
Yeah.
was. And I believe he was on a Harry Potter one. I just don't know which one. Six or seven, one of those. But yeah, it's got some some fairly new cast, some new faces. I feel like that's the theme this year, no? Like with there's a lot of scary films coming out. A lot of horror getting a lot of love this year, which is good.
Mhm.
And also it's bringing a lot of new faces to
Into
the
the
horror.
yep, into the
Yeah.
horror, the world of horror. Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm ready for it. We'll
All
see.
right. Everybody, check it out. Witchboard, again, reimaging of the 1986 movie of the same name. It will be out August 15th.
Yes, yes, indeed. It will be. Hey, let's finish this thing up and with our trivia question. So we always get one question to go with our our classic film, and try to make it, pretty simple. Y'all play along as well. Paul, I'm gonna have you go first this time.
Okay, all right. Well, we got to show our expertise.
Exactly.
So here we go.
Let's bring it in.
All right. And my question is Rolling Stone ranked Children of the Corn on
Hmm.
its list of top 30 Stephen King movies,
Hmm.
calling it a lean, brutally tense slasher film. What number did Rolling Stone rank it? Is it A, number 7, or is it B, number 15?
I mean, if you're gonna say all that about it, I don't think you're gonna give it 15. How many is it? Out of how many? Do you know?
30.
Oh, 30?
Rolling Stone ranked, yep, Children of Corn on a list of top 30 Stephen King movies.
Oh, top 30 Stephen King movies. 7 or 15.
Calling it a
I'm
lean,
gonna,
brutally tense slasher film.
I'm gonna go with lucky number 7. Final answer.
Final answer, A, number 7. And you are correct. Good job,
Thank you.
man. Good
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
Way to bring it home.
We,
Way to bring it home. Yes.
it's like we know these things. No.
Rolling Stone ranked Children of the Corn number 7 on the top 30 Stephen King movies.
Let's go. Loves it. All right.
Let's do it.
All right, you ready? This is from Sinister. So Another thing I liked about Sinister is it used some kind of like some realness to it. It was based on a Latin deity, right? Bugul. So that was that that name just in general is just creepy. Um, so Oswald moves his family into the house where a horrific crime has been committed, as we know.
Mhm.
An entire family has been slain except for the young daughter who is missing. How was the family killed? Okay, so this is the first family. Were they A, hanged by a tree, or B, electrocuted? How was that first family that welcomed us to the Sinister franchise killed? A, hanged from a tree, or B, it's electrocuted?
Uh, Crap. Okay, and then the daughter wasn't, right?
Yeah, the daughter was the one doing it.
Right.
Ah! We got moths in here.
I'm trying to remember the daughter. I can remember. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with A, hang by a tree.
Your final answer.
Yeah.
Sound the alarm. Sound the alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a
Yes,
minute
indeed.
because I had to go back in my head.
Yeah, that one was crazy. The family members were hung from a tree in the backyard from the family home. Without telling his wife, Oswald moves into the family to investigate that specific crime.
Right, right,
So, yeah, it showed,
right.
the daughter hanging them all from a tree. Uh, yeah, just a crazy, crazy video.
Right.
But that's it. Good job. We're both destroying it as always. You're scary experts. Making it do what it do.
You got to always. Got to do what it do. All right. Well, that wraps up today's Scare Episode. If you have not already, please check out Weapons. It is a good movie. Honestly, very, like we said, very deep, very layered. And it's not
Yeah.
your traditional horror movie, so don't go in there thinking you're gonna see like blood and guts every second of the movie because you're not.
Yeah.
Uh,
Not even jump
and
scares.
what's that?
No, I said not even jump scares, really.
Yeah, yeah, depend. Yeah, it really depends. If you're not like into scary movies, like you might, get a
Yeah,
little.
you might get a little.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But any last words, Danny?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Weapons was entertaining. Go check it out for sure. Go check out Strange Harvest. Check out our classics too, Children of the Corn and Sinister. I mean,
Mhm.
it just opened a whole nother realm of horror for you if you haven't
Yep.
seen those.
I mean, you have to continuously, build your repertoire and everything, so you got them
Right.
all. So, all right, Danny, tell everyone where they can find you.
All right, y'all. You can find me everywhere at I am Danny Royce.
And you guys can find me at Alpha Boy I1. Thank you guys so much for joining us on today's Scare Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys.
See y'all next time.